Okay, good evening and welcome to the budget work session. Today's Wednesday, March 11th. Thank you all for being here. I'll start with a roll call.
Mary Maha, Nancy Bai,
Here.
Mary Glacken.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so here we are, our second workshop in a row. We covered a lot of ground last night. Thank you. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about capital. Well, actually, we went over the capital last night. Basically, are there any questions? Anything anybody want to add?
So I had a question just about in the budget overview. So when we do our 4% levy, we have to was that always the case that you have to subtract revenue? Is that revenue from the state? The 255?
So that's the difference of the increased revenue for this year.
Difference between the increased revenue.
Okay, I'm sorry what page it is.
I know, I'm trying to,
Yeah.
here we go.
Okay. I see. I get it now. So the $73 is what we have to play with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, to get the levy, you have the expenditures, the difference of the expenditures from the
Yep.
prior year.
That's,
And then the increase or decrease of the revenues, it increased, so we deduct that from the expenditures.
I thought for some reason I just didn't read it correctly. Anyway, so if we were looking to insert anything else in the budget, we need to take something out, pretty much. Yeah.
Unless you wanted to,
Yeah.
they use the $73, yeah.
Well, you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to use that $73. Just got to figure out what. You need more paper? Anybody need more paper from Staples? Things like that. Yeah. Anyway, I think one thing I was looking at, the tennis courts, and I just wondered, because I live right near them. So I know they're used, but they aren't. I mean, I just wondered if that number can come down in any way, or maybe as we think about possibilities for what, as I expressed some concerns about what we were paying the senior center second in command. I just wonder how you kind of came, I realized one tennis court costs $400,000 to totally refurbish. And I just looking at the use of them and, as part of the rec investment, is that the best, or could we do one set of them? We have two sets of tennis courts. The upper set has two or four, I guess, pickleball courts on them, and then one tennis court, and then the lower has three. There are people playing tennis who have been playing tennis forever, and but it's oddly not used quite as much as you might think. Even to the best, in spring I do hear the bonk, bonk, bonk from the pickleball, but I'm just wondering about that, just because that particular salary, and also, as you know, my social service agencies, I'm always anxious to increase what we provide for them. And I did have a question about whether included in those what we might add to those social service agencies might be Coast, the fire out of the fire department, which is in need of certain capital they're looking to raise money from grants and stuff like that, and they're pretty active about that, but perhaps the town could supply them in the sort of same vein that the town does for the Chamber of Commerce. But in terms of the social service agency. So I'm just thinking about that. The difference between Coast, I'm sorry, I'm going on, but the difference, Coast and the village has a mechanism for payment. But I'd like to see, just because they have dues, but I'd like to see more cooperation with those two agencies. But Coast is purely volunteer, and the volunteers are pretty damn extraordinary. So I just, that's what I was thinking about.
Sure. So I'll start with the salary question.
Yep.
So if there were an adjustment to be made to the salary, again, we have to look at the broader picture of comparisons to other municipalities, what they pay that type of position, where it aligns with the director's position and other positions throughout the town. I think we can look at that internally without necessarily a budget adjustment. There is, as we indicated, there is money that we carried in the personnel line item related to other adjustments, salary adjustments that are still pending. So we can take a look at that without necessarily making an adjustment to that line item or having to deduct from other areas within the budget, if you would. To talk about the tennis courts a little bit. So that number is a number based upon kind of a scheduled maintenance program, right, of the resurfacing, not a rebuild of them. But there is, as I indicated last night, and I think in my previous discussion about it, it is about what is the expectation of the council about the level of quality of the tennis court. That's if you look at the number for a complete rebuild of $450,000 for a complete rebuild of a tennis court, that's a council decision of, do you want to spend that kind of money to that level of quality tennis court? Or do you want to spend something less and continue to maintain what we have? With that being said, if you felt that there's a move that has to happen within the capital budget from that line item, it might be that we push one of the maintenance of one of those courts out a year or two. We could certainly do that. And then the last item related to the social services number, we carry a pretty, I wouldn't say hefty number, but there's some flexibility in that $35,000, how we do that. So we would have to have a conversation with the chief and the representatives of Coast to see what would be helpful to them.
I recommended that they come, but I did it at pretty late notice. So, but that'd be great. Great. Thank you. Thanks very much.
So,
I think that answers, I mean, except for a thought about the tennis courts and about spreading it out.
I guess what are they like right now? I mean, are they in need of repair? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a maintenance issue. So
Just a maintenance.
if they're not maintained, the cracks, become worsened, the weeds become worsened, the wear and tear on the asphalt becomes worsened. So to extend the life of the tennis court, right, to avoid that complete rebuild, which has been happening for decades, we've been avoiding that for a long time. That's the program. Again, it goes back to what is the level of quality of tennis court that you want? I mean, and what is the need of the community and desire of the community? The tennis courts, are sufficient, but they do need maintenance, right?
Okay.
They're not, I know people have higher expectations. Some people are very satisfied with what they have. So that's why we continue to maintain it or attempt to maintain it at a reasonable level.
Right. Is it on like a schedule of maintenance that we have already, that we do, that we follow?
Yeah, it's in, I don't know the cycle in years, but for example, if you apply the epoxy, you'll get 5 more years before you have to redo that. Eventually you got to do a complete resurface, which means you're stripping it down, not to gravel, but stripping it down to the raw asphalt again, and then re-epoxing it. So there's a number of ways of doing it. The most aggressive, as I indicated, is a complete rebuild. It would be a complete disintegration of the asphalt that's there down to gravel, regrading, all new asphalt, all new surface, all new epoxy finish on the tennis court. So like I said, but it's a maintenance program. Like, again, we can defer one and we would be fine. So it depends if there's a number that you're looking to reduce that by, we certainly could take a look at that and certainly make that work.
Thank you. We'll probably hear it.
Is if we go forward with tearing it all the way down and rebuilding it, is that going to present a problem with the tribe?
If we do that
Yeah,
or don't do that.
if we do it, if we get into.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a challenge. So I did speak to a contractor that has dealt with similar situations, not necessarily the same situation, but tried to mitigate the intrusion, if you would, upon the subsurface there. So, one option is they come in, they completely excavate, right? One contractor that I spoke to they come in and their disturbance is much less because they pulverize the existing asphalt and then regrade it. So they're not penetrating into the subsurface. It is something, I can't say it wouldn't be a challenge, but it would be less of a concern in terms of that challenge.
Okay.
And keeping in mind, I'm not recommending that as a solution. That $300,000 does not include a complete rebuild. The $300,000 includes an epoxy application to both tennis courts, to do some leveling of both tennis courts, and to do the same for the basketball court. That's what the $300,000
Right.
would get you.
And I mean, I note that I presume Ray had in his budget 90,000 for the tennis court alone, for the lower tennis courts alone.
Yeah, and again, that was trying to build it on a cycle that did not take into account the basketball court. And candidly, the basketball court
Is
is
in-
in the worst condition of
I
the three
agree.
courts.
I agree. I mean, it's right. Okay.
Did they use it for school?
It does. Yeah.
They do
As
use
Tina
it.
pointed out, probably the basketball court gets the most use of all three courts.
I agree.
Consistently, so.
I agree. And I think, I mean, and also it's the Dave St. Kerr Memorial Nets now, because he paid to replace the hoops, I think, back when Andy Wade was still rec director. The neighbor, Dave St. Kerr, who unfortunately has died,
Oh,
paid to replace those.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think it probably does get the most, yeah, except on a Saturday morning when the lower tennis courts are filled. But yeah, so I mean, I think that would just be one place if people were looking to do something else. That to me is one spot where,
possibly.
yeah, there's might be. But I appreciate how we're thinking about it in a flexible sort of way, so.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to similar to what we talked about before on other projects, right? There is a cost savings. Again, I'm not saying we can't be flexible. I'm just telling you the rationale of trying to do it all at once, if you would, all three courts at once, because there is a value to mobilizing a contractor to come out to do that work that we would realize. I can't say what the value would be, what the additional cost was to do it in two projects versus one, but every contractor we talked to, of course, they expressed that there's a value to come out and do the work.
Mobilization is a cost.
Right.
Just getting to the site.
I don't have any questions on tennis or on.
On anything.
Oh, I have questions on field with the trees.
Yes,
Is that a necessity? Like why are we?
Orchard Avenue.
Yeah, is that coming from the ad hoc committee or is that coming because there's a need to do landscaping there?
So the ad hoc committee was working towards developing a proposal to the council in terms of a capital investment that they were going to ask for of the council. They have not fully developed that. What they did in my conversations and my attendance to a meeting or two was the discussion, if you remember, there was discussion about the netting to prevent the soccer balls. I always assumed in the conversations over the last year that the concern the soccer balls were going to the west. Their concern is the soccer balls are going to the east towards East Shore Road. So what they had talking through it, one of the solutions that they had some very preliminary high level budget numbers related to netting. And it was a heavy number. I'll just say that. I don't recall what it was, but it was a little bit shocking in terms of the number. So in their conversation was, is there another solution? And to begin the plantings of abrevieties would essentially serve the same purpose. The reason that I suggested that for consideration is that I thought it addressed a couple of things. One is the budget. It's significantly less than what the netting solution would be. The second would be, I know there were concerns about the netting related to birds, zoning issues, just the aesthetics of it. So that's why I suggested the alternate solution of the abrevieties. So, and it's whether the council's ready to start making that commitment to Eldred Avenue. You heard from fellow councilors that there was a desire to make an investment there through the capital budget, whatever that might be. So that was our effort to try to balance that need. The other money related to the exploration of the soil conditions, that number is a pretty confident number. Again, and that's really just I would call it a research of the conditions there. There's no improvement that's going to occur from that, but it helps them build what the future might be in terms of if there's an additional investment there related to the improvement of the turf conditions there.
Can I just ask you if there's anything, sorry, I'm shocking everybody, on Lawn Avenue? I mean, is there money towards the field at Lawn?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
so
sure you
we
said
put
there
that in
was.
the operating budget under the
Oh,
rec department of the
okay,
turf
that's-
management.
I
So
knew
under the
you,
rec department operating budget, typically we carry about $25,000. All of that $25,000 is spent at Eldred Avenue in terms of turf management with a professional contractor. What I suggested was we try a pilot program at Lawn Avenue to see if and start making that investment. You would not realize the results of that for a number of years. So if you're going to commit to that, it would be a number of years at that number. So we put in starting 6 months in the first budget. If there is a desire to do that and continue with that program, you would be looking at the $20,000 range on an annual program to improve the turf conditions at the soccer field at Lawn Avenue.
for Eldred?
For lawn.
Lawn as well.
Sorry.
And so we added to the operating budget
Yeah.
to begin that as a kind of a pilot program to see if it's effective for Lawn Avenue.
I think my concerns about Lawn were learning that somebody had broken their leg or their ankle, and that was, it's like, so
Yeah, we've
Tried to-
never,
you've tried to document that assertion and can't find it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Never mind,
I-
I'll stop
I
worrying.
can't say whether it's folklore or not, but I'm not certain that,
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I can't say I'm supportive of the trees at Eldridge. I just, for $30,000 for something that the ad hoc committee has come up with and they haven't presented to the council at all. I struggle with that. I mean, I would understand if it was, for some other purpose than to stop balls from going down there. My kids play there. To me, it's not a problem. There's a low fence already to keep kids off. I mean, yeah, sometimes the ball will go over the fence, but it's not going in the street. It's pretty far away.
there's vegetation between the fence and the street.
Yeah, and most
The
kids are,
concern has been, I'm not trying to justify fencing or netting or anything. Just telling you the concern that's been expressed is the having to go into that vegetation and ticks and poison ivy and other things. That's the concern of that group.
yeah, no, I can appreciate that, but I'm struggling with that one. I mean, is there any funding set aside for Fort Getty for when that committee comes through with anything? Whether it's planting trees or,
No, not in the current budget. So in your previous budget,
Yep.
in budgets, and I don't know those numbers, I certainly can get those numbers for you, but there was previous capital dollars that had been set aside over a number of years. That in addition to
What was it, 600?
It was a bit, yeah.
again, don't quote me, somewhere in that range of $600,000 that was added at the FTM for improvements for Fort Getty. So there is some capital dollars there to begin, if the committee comes back and says we need to make this investment, whatever that might be, there is money to begin that work, yes. And
And
that would be available, through the next fiscal year. Based upon the timing of it, I would not expect you to need additional capital dollars for Fort Getty in the next fiscal year. By the time the committee comes to you and reports to you, if there's a commitment to make an investment there and an improvement there, but timing of it, if we were able to begin that work in the next fiscal year, we would be able to budget for additional work if it's so needed in the next fiscal year. So
Right.
that's why we did not add any dollars. And again, I didn't want to be presumptuous that there is going to be a recommendation that includes any improvement there. I
Right.
don't know yet.
I think the way it went down last year was 125, you budgeted 1.25 million, I'm pretty sure, but we had 320,000 in our capital accounts for Fort Getty. And so that left 930,000, some of which 500,000 you had planned for electric, which the council took out of the budget. And that left the 400 and some odd. When Paul did his math, it wasn't, he took the 320 out of out of the 930 instead of, you know, so the math ended up, so it ended up about $600,000. So it was even short of what you had projected it to be. So Fort Getty is clearly a project for a couple of years, but I think you're exactly right. We have money to start a program. I fully expect this committee to come back to us with some information, and we'll work from there. But I was thinking, as you talked about, you know, like the fear of getting ticks and stuff like that. I mean, is there a program where we use permethrin on some of our fields or in some of our areas where people travel, like the Battery, which is not ours, I understand, but that would help prevent ticks? Because ticks are the poison ivy you get over. Lyme disease takes a longer time.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, as you know, the Tick Task Force in education, right, educates the benefits of that, pre-treating, clothing and those things. That does include a lot of times those organized sports leagues to educate them on that as well. There's also the education, you know, signage and those types of things that they offer, which includes places like the Battery, Fort Getty, where they're offering those education QR codes, right, where you're getting that information readily. So we're not providing the material, the product, but we're providing the education, yes. When I say we, the Tick Task Force is doing that.
I think it'd be interesting just to think about. I had a client who owns property on Beavertail, and what he did, he's an emergency room doctor. He had put permethrin all through his property. He has now a horse farm. And so, you know, that may be something that the Tick Task Force ultimately recommends, because
Sure.
the dilemmas of Lyme, particularly alpha-gal, I mean, the consequences of the what is that, the longhorn or whatever tick?
Lone Star.
Lone Star tick. So anyway, but it just, you know, as you're thinking about that, if there was some protection from ticks up at Eldred Avenue, then the kids might not be so fearful of traveling into the wilds of the underbrush or something like that. But anyway, I tend to agree with Mary about you know, I'm not sure the trees are going to do the job that they were hoping would get done, right?
Yeah, and I think, can we use that outdoor, is it the outdoor funding? What am I thinking of?
Yeah, we would have to look at that. So we've had conversations about the use of the payment in lieu of related to outdoor and recreational space. Again, I don't want to guess what the number is, but there's a significant balance within that account that we would have to explore whether we could use that for recreational opportunities or improvements. One added note related to Eldred Avenue, right? We still have the obstacle of making improvements there that might include excavation. So before we got to the point of going to everybody that's named within the deed restrictions, right? And discussing the various interpretations of what's allowed there and what's not, I wanted to be in a place where we're funded, we're ready to move forward before we have this conversation, because sometimes some groups say, well, when you're ready, we'll give you an answer. So I'm trying to get us to a point, again, I'm not advocating for trees, but I do feel if we do want to continue to explore the potential to improve the field conditions there, the investment of the $15,000 to discuss the soil conditions there, that allows us to begin that discussion with those various parties to say, listen, we have to do some moderate excavation here. Let's all come together and figure out whether we're going to be allowed to do that or not based upon the deed restrictions. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think we answered a bunch of them. Oh, the DPW equipment. Is there anything that got really damaged during the last storm that we know, like above and beyond, that we need to replace? No?
no.
Okay.
No.
And is replacing the police cruiser once a year standard?
Replacing a police cruiser?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a part of our normal.
Yes. So by the time they cycle a police car out, it's about 140, 150,000 miles. So they just going back, you know, previous to, I'd say 2011, most police cars were getting cycled out at about 70 or 80,000 miles based upon a fleet management program that we instituted, you know, 10, 15 years ago. We're extending the life of those vehicles, but we're still at a need to replace them. There's, there's six cars in the patrol fleet alone, right, that are high mileage, high use, all of that. So those are the cars, yeah.
Is it a hybrid?
No, they
Yes.
don't offer a hybrid for that type of vehicle.
Right.
So they made an attempt to do that. Ford attempted to do that unsuccessfully.
Huh.
They had offered electric vehicle. You can get a fully electrical F-150 police package. The challenge is the cost of it and the technical problems they're having with it. They've actually transitioned away
Right.
from even offering that.
Right.
With
So
all the
they go back
electronics.
to offering a traditional gas model.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they would do a hybrid though, that'd be kind of,
Some are.
yeah, okay.
The electronics, I think, take a lot of the energy away from the batteries. Isn't that correct? A lot of electronics on the cars.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technical equipment within a police
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Computers, radars, other devices that are charging all the time, the lighting system, siren packages, all of those things, just, they do not do well with
Mm.
hybrids. The technology is not there yet.
In the past, you've given us a list of the fleet. I mean, could you do that again? I know
Yeah.
there was, we have a car for the detective. I think we have a car for the captain. I'm not even sure. I guess we have a car for the chief.
Yeah, so there's three administration cars, we
Yep.
call them. One is assigned to the detective. That's hovering on 140,000 miles itself. Those are not the same level of
I
police
know,
car.
I know that.
They're
Yep.
a sedan.
Yep.
The chief gets a car, the captain gets a car, the detective gets a car, so in administrative cars.
Yep.
So then we have a fleet of patrol cars, and then we have two cars which are assigned to details. Those are detail only. They're not, I hate to say it, not patrol-worthy cars any longer. So when you see them sitting on the side of the road, that's typically a detail car, which, good or bad, generates a revenue for us because we do bill those companies for the use of those cars.
But also, I know in the past, we've provided a car to the town I'm just thinking about all the different cars, the town administrator, or we facilitated that, and you'd never asked for that, so
No.
that's great.
I know.
Thank you.
People have asked me, about like, there was the Ranger car, I think, isn't there a little white one out here with the towns?
Yeah,
Is there any way, I mean, if people ask, is there any way we could have an inventory of those as well, or?
yeah, we can provide that to you, but I'll tell you what
You can,
transpired
yeah.
there. So, 3 years ago, the rec department was funded for the purchase of an ATV, UTV, right? So a four-wheel drive off-road vehicle. They used it for 2 summers, realized it did not necessarily meet their needs, right? Between the conditions within the park, it was more than what they needed. It's not that it didn't meet their needs, it was more than what they needed. So between the chief and and Ray, I sat down with them, I said, listen, if we do a swap here, so that UTV went to the police department. You'll see that they're actually retrofitting that to be used for special events, beach patrol, getting CSOs around the town. So we're repurposing that vehicle for a better use. In exchange for that, we took a surplus police vehicle, one that was getting transitioned out after a replacement cycle, and we retrofitted that. We spent a little bit of money on it to make it a Ranger vehicle that's assigned, again, not a patrol police car, but a vehicle that's available to the staff within the park, right? So a couple of things it allows us to do, allows the staff to do related to Fort Getty, right? So when there's a beach manager or there's a manager within the park or a more responsible individual that can go down to Mackerel Cove, for example, we were very limited on what we were doing. We were very separated in the operation there. So I'm trying to create a more flexible opportunity for them to be able to go back and forth within the park in Mackerel Cove.
I think that's great. I mean, reusing that, reorganizing that, that's terrific. I had the same questions because I saw park ranger, right? But it sort of does give a kind of realm of authority too, to whoever that person is. And
And we have the 2 little vans, right? The passenger vehicles.
So we have one van.
Oh, just one?
Yeah,
I thought there was
that's
2.
typically, 7 or 8 passenger van.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the larger, we call it the rec bus. It's not necessarily for the rec department solely, which is also handicap accessible, has a wheelchair lift for that vehicle.
Okay. I have two
So
more.
one of the things we are doing, like, there hasn't necessarily been a coordination of vehicles within departments. Usually a department uses a vehicle at the end of it, surplus it out or whatever it is. So we're trying to pay a little bit more attention because there are other departments where we can repurpose that vehicle. The Ranger vehicle is an example, right? We're looking at Public Works trucks as they're coming out of cycle over the next 6 months or so, whether they will be repurposed and reassigned perhaps to the rec department for use in Fort Getty. Right, so we're really trying to, I mean, the cost of a vehicle, as you can see, is unbelievable. We're really trying to maximize the life and useful life of those vehicles.
It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead. You have some more.
I have two more, sorry.
No, that's okay.
The North End Fire Station project, is there any budgeting for that, or is that all through the grant that he got?
So the chief had put in for $200,000 in the budget. I did not fund that. Again, it's based upon timing. There's a couple of things that have to happen there. So in your current fiscal year on the capital budget, there's $50,000 basically for research and permitting to identify a site location.
Oh, okay, I must have missed that
So
part.
that's an existing budget
Yeah,
currently. So we're
Okay.
currently still doing them. Right.
okay.
So we continue to do the work on vetting that. In addition to that is the $250-ish thousand grant, which we have to submit an application for within about 6 months. So our hope is we're going to identify a site, get that through the process and approval process of where we're going so we can lock in that application for the grant. We cannot submit a grant application on an idea of a site. We need a site identified. We need a project identified. So that is the next step. So again, it's about timing in the budget, right? So we don't anticipate that there'll be additional dollars within the next fiscal year that would be needed for that project. Once we, optimistically speaking, identify a site, lock in that grant for the 250, we do have some time to fully execute on that project.
Okay. My other question, because it comes up a lot from people in town, is raising the rate of the beach passes. Is Ray doing that this year, or is there talk of that?
So you already, I believe you already went through the process of looking at rates. There's always an opportunity to look at it again. It's $15. I don't know. We had this conversation, Ray and I, recently about, there's always a reservation about raising the rate, particularly when it comes to the senior population. Some have suggested perhaps seniors don't pay at all. You know, there is always an opportunity if you want to hear, you know, maybe there's a graduated system based upon the number of stickers you have, which some communities do, where you might pay, a senior might get one for $10, get the first one for $10. After that, they pay like everybody else. A family might get the first one at a rate of, say, again, I'm just making numbers up. You might get your first one at $15, but everyone after that is $20 or $25. So we haven't explored that. We certainly have not made a recommendation to increase that, but if that's something the council wants us to consider and come back, I'm just cautious about timing of it, right? So we're close to the season. Like we're going to start selling those probably in, yeah, in a couple weeks. So but no reason we can't start the conversation for next year. So.
Right. I like that last, I've thought about that a lot, of that the first one might be for $15. And then if you are, because I mean, they sell so many beach stickers and there's only 90 parking spaces. I think it's 90, maybe not even. So, you know, if you can almost sort of suggest to people that their second sticker might be more expensive, maybe they would all just go in one car, you know, or stuff like that. So that's probably not going to happen. But I think that the idea of like your first sticker is offered at this reduced rate. I mean, I know I've had people, including former officials in state and town government, say to me, it should be free. And then, but I think that if the second and third, and possibly put a limit as to how many you sell to any one household, you know, just because I know that the number, people complain about the daily use and the folks who come just for the day who are out of towners. And I think their rate is either $20 or $30. But that's not who's filling up those spaces. It's the 1,000 or so people who bought beach stickers. You know, it's locals. So I think that that is a thing to think about for next year, is some way of either of getting maybe more revenue, but also generating some control over the number of people who subscribe to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a fairly healthy revenue for us. I
Yeah.
will say that. So the entire beach that, again, I'm guessing, let's just say there's 90 spots there. Not all of them are available for day use, right?
Right.
So only about half of them, roughly, are available for day use. The other half is resident-only parking.
Right. I know that they've, I think a few years ago when there were a lot of complaints, probably during the pandemic, when people were talking about the use of the beach quite a bit. I think I think it may have been Andy Wade at that time, but they restricted the use like they left only like 15 spaces available for out of towners, so.
I don't have any questions. Do you have any more? No, Mary?
No, no more.
I think we don't have any more questions.
Okay. So just in terms of scheduling, right? So you have your meeting on Monday.
Monday,
um,
regular meeting.
which, I mean, do you feel like you want that on the agenda for Monday for further discussion? Keeping in mind, you still have to get to the workshop on the 26th with the school department
Correct.
before you can approve and move a budget forward. So, but after that, you have one meeting left after that. You have your first meeting in April, at which we would need a budget that's approved that we need to get to the state and get printed and all those things before we can get ready for the FTM.
Could we add to since we know that the other two counselors will be here on the 26th, could we add to the agenda of that meeting? No?
No, because the school committees, it's a school
Take-
committee night
Takes over the
and they're
room.
starting their meeting at 6. So the joint meeting is at 5:30.
Well, that's a big, long time to talk about their budget.
I mean,
Is it possible
roughly-
they could start their meeting at 6:30?
Did you want to have a council meeting? Is that what you're?
I'm just saying that for the kind of discussion that you're talking about, if we're missing two counselors here.
Sure.
And, it might behoove us to have more conversation. And I don't know that that's actually necessary. I mean, I think,
We just want to give them the opportunity.
I guess, or
Um,
for the public to have an opportunity to hear us discuss it or something. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, if it
I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Do we know if the other counselors will be here on Monday for our regular meeting next Monday?
Eric probably won't.
I mean, you could do that. You could put it down as a discussion item
Yep.
under new business. I know we were talking about this earlier, new business or old business. And then kind of have a grasp of how comfortable you are working towards adopting at least your portion of the budget or whatever you choose to revise at that time.
Right.
And then determine if there's additional meetings that would be necessary from there. So
Okay.
you might have a better sense on Monday.
Yeah.
What kind of the direction you're going to go collectively.
So we'll put it on the agenda for Monday evening,
Yep.
correct?
Okay.
Okay.
And can we have a conversation with I mean, I can happy to call up the members of the school committee and just ask them if they'll be flexible, because I can't imagine we're going to wrap up the conversation in half an hour.
You don't necessarily have to conclude at that time.
Okay.
They're going to, I mean, we'll talk to them about them starting their meeting at the conclusion of the workshop.
Exactly.
Yeah, to not give you a stop time.
Right.
Is that?
Right.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Thank you.
It's good that you brought it up. Okay, I guess that's it. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. Thank you.